Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Video Impact, where you will be learning about planning and scripting your videos. We will talk about what gear you will need to prepare for a shoot, how to best plan out your timeline for shooting, as well as how to script your videos for maximum effect with your viewers. Today, our special guest is Justin Banks. Justin is a professional actor, speaker, and cinematographer, and is the creative director of New Heights Media. He has over a decade of experience in every facet of the industry, from planning films right through to editing them. And he has a wealth of knowledge for both behind and in front of the camera. So Justin, how are you today?
Oh, all that knowledge in one head? That's impossible. I'm good, how are you?
I'm good too. So let's jump in to how to plan and script your videos. All right, so episode 1 was about planning your videos, and we went through 5 things you should know before getting started with video. This is just an overview of what we're covering in this episode. And then we'll go through what you'll need, gear-wise, right, Justin?
Correct.
And then we will be planning out your timeline. So let's go through really briefly about the 5 things that you should know before you get started with video. So Justin, feel free to chime in whenever you want. So step 1 was to know your objective. Step 2 was to know what types of videos you want to create. So this could be like promo videos, testimonial videos, what other types of videos?
Facebook Live.
Facebook videos, content online courses like you were filming the other day.
Correct, yeah.
Step 3 was to know how to get your message across fast. Step 4 is to know your avatar and your perfect ideal client. And number 5 was to know your call to action as well. So if you want to get more in depth about all these things like getting started with video, go back to episode 1 and check that out. But now over to Justin. You can tell us all about what you're going to need.
Okay, so when I'm preparing for a shoot, I will try to envisage what the day will look like. So I basically start with, okay, obviously here's a person here. I'll need a camera, tripod, probably SD card, lenses, lights, stands for lights. What else would there be? Sound, so mic, stand for mic if need one. So basically I will visualize like what the place will actually look like. Some people like to have checklists, and someone actually tried to get me to do checklists, but some people just don't respond well to them. I respond better to just visualizing what the place will look like once I'm finished setting it all up.
But you might be a checklist person like I am.
And good luck to you. So that's the way I'd look at it. So make sure every department's sort of covered. You've got your visual department, so you've got your cameras, you've got your lighting department, your lights, your stands. There's been a few times in my early career when I actually left the house with no SD cards.
Really?
So, yeah, early career, a long time ago. In fact, there was a shoot that was really important that I was driving to Sydney from the Central Coast, where I was shooting like Ray Hadley. It's like a really, really famous rugby league and like radio announcer.
Yeah.
And I got about 15 minutes down the road and I've gone, oh, SD card, turn around, go back. So just visualize like every single tiny component you'll need, and if you are a checklist person, check them off, I guess.
Yeah, I have a friend that I think went to a shoot without his camera. So.
That's a pretty big one to forget.
But anyway, talking about cameras.
He didn't visualize that very well.
Talking about cameras, why don't you tell us a bit about cameras? So,
okay,
maybe you're shooting with your phone or a DSLR or?
Okay, so generally, if you had the option to shoot with a phone or a camera, my phone that I use actually shoots at 4 times the quality of my camera, all right? However, I would never use the phone over the camera. I would always use a DSLR camera if I could. And that is because the power of lenses is far more powerful than the power of resolution.
But doesn't it depend on what you're shooting as well?
Okay, yeah, so if you're shooting a Facebook Live ad, yeah, go ahead, use your phone.
Or gimbal, like if you need your phone for the gimbal and you need to run around doing a kind of like a panning shot like you've done before.
And I can explain why that works, actually. So the camera on your phone is sort of simulating, without actually knowing which lens, I would guess at about a 24mm lens. So this wide shot, this sort of 2 shot. So anything wide enough you can actually run around with a gimbal or a stabilizer with your phone, and it will actually look pretty good because it is simulating that lens that I would have used for that shot anyway. But it's just the close-up stuff that the phone lens doesn't quite work with, because if anyone's heard the term fisheye, the wider the lens, the more fisheye effects you're going to, because the lens has to fit information into the shot, so it will squeeze it around, and you'll get this real fisheye sort of, if you put a person close to a lens that's got like a fisheye lens, it's going to stretch their face around. They're going to look really weird. So phones, like, you can get away with phones, and obviously the more technology gets better, it's going to get better and better to use phones. But if you have the option, go DSLR. And that's mainly because you can use the right lens for the right shot, and your audience doesn't have to do so much of, like, they don't have to use their eyes so much. Their eyes can relax while they're watching the message, and you want your audience to be relaxed.
Okay, so for those people that do have DSLR cameras and they're wondering kind of which lenses to choose, what would you say to them?
Okay, so if you're doing a sort of one person talking to camera and they're relatively close to the camera, filling up a lot of the actual shot, I would say a 50mm lens.
Can you explain what 50mm
Okay,
is?
yep, sure. So basically, this wide shot over here is, I reckon, about a 24mm lens. It's fitting two people in a shot, and there's still a bit of real estate room around us, sort of thing. But if we cut over here, this is more of a sort of a close sort of angle. So it's the bigger the sound of the size of the lens. So 24, 50, 100, 200 sort of thing. The bigger the lens gets, the tighter the shot.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So the higher the number, the more zoomed in it is.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So it's important not to mix and match. I mean, if you're trying to be artistic, which we're not going to try and be in the corporate world, but if you try and be artistic, you can play around sort of thing and see what results will yield, what lenses will yield different results in different situations. However, for us who are trying to get a message to an audience without any hindrance whatsoever, we try and do things right as much as possible. So if there's no other option, you can use your phone, as long as your sound's good, as long as you've got like a nice mic or whatever. But if you have the option of a DSLR camera, I would always use one.
And your first preference lens would be the 50mm?
50mm lens, yeah. So
and what would your second one be? Second preference?
I probably wouldn't have one.
Okay, well,
I would aim for 50 as much as possible.
Okay, I'd say the 24-70 might be handy.
If you're going to use the 24, I would try and make sure that the subject or the person is a little bit further away from the actual camera than if you would frame them with a 50mm. And what that'll do is the fish eye effect won't have so much effect on them so much. It'll affect the background more than them, and they will look quite nice in the shot.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is having a zoom lens might come in handy for people that, depending on what kind of space they have, if you're having a 24-70 or a lens that has two different numbers, that means they have the ability to zoom in closer or zoom out a little bit further, depending on what kind of shot they want.
It really depends on the situation. Me personally, I will never use zoom lenses, but that's because my background is like specifically videography without photography, whereas photographers will generally use lenses where you can do a whole bunch of different things that they really don't complement each other, the photography and videography. Photographers can take nice video, videographers can take nice photos, but we come from backgrounds where we use different things. So I as a videographer, will always use a prime lens, which is a lens that only does one thing, 50mm, nothing else. Joyce, on the other hand, with a photography background, will use a lens that can do all sorts of things. But that's because Joyce has to work on the go. Sometimes, she'll literally get off a plane, have to literally pull out the camera and start filming, and be in different circumstances, where my sort of shoots are all very, very planned and, structured and so forth. And it's, I have different setups for what I have to go through when I do those sorts of things.
So really it depends on
It does, that's what I mean. It depends on the situation.
Let's move on to lighting. So in a future episode, we'll be talking more in depth about lighting. But Justin, when you're planning for your videos, what do you plan for in regards to lighting? Okay,
so if I'm shooting inside, I will generally try and have one main diffused light, which I will talk more about what diffusion is in the episode 4, and one main harsh light, and I will have a stand for each, and if they require, power cables. That's pretty much it.
So power cables and or batteries if they do run on batteries as well.
If I'm outside, I will take reflectors. So I'll have one reflector, one diffuser, and that's probably about it.
Awesome. Okay, so then audio. What do you have to say about audio?
Okay, I cover this a lot more in the episode 4. So if you want to know about audio, look at episode 4. But if you're going to use your phone, if you have to use your phone, try and use like a Rode Smart Lav, because they're ridiculously cheap, and they yield a much better result than the actual phone audio and even basic DSLR audio. So if you haven't got much of a budget to work with, I would definitely suggest, whether or not some phones may not be able to actually do record video plus have this plugged in at the same time, so you may have to use someone else's phone to record the audio. But if it means getting good audio, it's a no-brainer. You have to do it. You can't cheap out on audio.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, so things that you need for the shoot, we've talked about cameras, lighting, audio. What else do you need? Spare batteries, SD cards.
So if I go to a shoot and I know that I'm going to use about 3 batteries, I will take 6. I try and double everything. Everything that I'm going to need, I try and double. Particularly small stuff that doesn't take up much car space. So I will take a backup lens. I'll take a spare camera. Even if I know I'm only going to use 1 camera, I always take a spare camera with a spare couple of lenses. Batteries, yeah, as I said, double everything.
From a girl's point of view, you can take powder for your face, for makeup, for getting rid of shine.
Why didn't I think of that?
What else do we have to think about when we're going to go on the shoot? Sometimes you need a teleprompter, depending on the client.
Yeah. So I'll usually take a teleprompter with a spare stand for every shoot, just in case. It has saved me in the past.
Yep.
But I'll usually take a couple of gimbals. I'll take a gimbal for the camera. You don't have to worry about this because this is going to be far more sort of advanced to what you guys are doing at the moment when you're sort of starting out with your own corporate videos. But I'll take a gimbal for the camera and the phone, so that if I'm literally in a rush, I can pop the phone in and just get what I need. But if I've got a bit of time and I want to do things really professional, I'll use a proper gimbal. What else do I take?
Food.
Yeah, I'll just take a bag of cashew nuts. You never know when you're going to be stuck somewhere.
It depends how long the shoot's going to go for.
So look, my main piece of advice here is overcompensate. Take double of everything, and yeah, that way you can have it, not need it, than need it, not have it.
Great. All right, so let's move on to planning out your timeline. A big question, a question that we always get asked is, how long is it going to take to film? How long do we need to prepare, and how long is it going to take to edit it afterwards? So can you talk to us about, the timeline?
Absolutely, and I'm glad to do so. Because the funny thing is that most clients will call us up and say, listen, I've got 10 videos that are all 30 seconds long.
I need to book in for 30 minutes.
Yeah. And that's actually never the case. So what I do is I generally open up with maybe, it takes me half an hour to set up. I allow an hour to set up. And I also try and add a bit more onto that because I never know if I'm going to get there and there's going to be no parking, which does happen. So I overcompensate by a minimum of double. Whatever I think it's going to take, I double it. Then with the actual shooting of the videos, it's hard to gauge per person because different people have different confidence levels in front of the camera.
But let's use the 10 1-minute videos, for example.
Okay, so you would think that 10 1-minute videos take 10 minutes, but I will generally try and keep about 10 minutes per 1-minute video.
And what's the reason for that?
Because you never know how many times they're going to take to get that 1-minute video right. It usually takes a few. Is the audio recording perfectly? Has the camera overheated or anything? There's things that can happen all the time that can turn 1 minute into 20 minutes. So generally, and the other thing is, one of my biggest jobs as a videographer is to make people feel better about themselves in front of the camera, because a lot of people get very nervous in front of camera. So they'll do something and go, oh, did that suck? And it's like, well, in my mind I'm saying, yeah, but I actually say, no, that was lovely. So there's all that time that I have to allow. Keep this under your hats, everyone. There's all this time I have to allow for making sure the client.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.